Bonjour, welcome to another episode of Konnect, where I got to connect with Abhishek Jhunjhunwala. He's a 38-year-old who lives in Pondicherry and has been riding his bike for almost 20 years now. He was selected by a French company called Vintage Rides to show foreigners around the beautiful country that is India. And he's been to Madhya Pradesh, Ladakh, Kerala and a lot other places that he shares in this interview about. He also shares safety and maintenance tips and why biking is more than just an escape or an investment, but it is an experience that you cherish lifelong. Check out the interview. I'm sure you're going to like it. And for all you bikers out there, I've got some amazing stuff coming up.
Tell me, when did you start biking and what motivated you? How did it, कैसे लगा ये कीड़ा कैसे लगा biking करने का?
Kira, so I mean, I'm from Pondicherry and I grew up seeing my dad, my uncles, everyone roaming around on bikes because here a bike is way more convenient than a car. It's a small town.
Yeah.
So my dad used to have this bike called the ESD. It was the sister of the Java motorcycles that's around today. And I personally wasn't too fond of that bike, but then that's where my interest in bike started.
Okay.
So when I was 16, I was allowed to ride. My mom had a Luna. It was a small 50cc thing which had pedals, and you could, to start it, you pedaled and then it caught, the motor caught and you rode around on it. It was a very small 50cc thing. So even if I took a relatively large friend behind me, that thing used to not go beyond 40 kilometers per hour. So I started with that. And then once I was 18, I started learning on a friend's old Bullet.
Okay.
So that's where my love for the Royal Enfield, the Bullet, started.
Yeah.
However, my family didn't want to buy me a Bullet. So I first got a second-hand Yamaha 135.
Okay.
So that was mostly riding around inside town. Then I graduated to the Hero Honda CBZ.
Yeah.
And from there, I actually started doing trips from Pondi to Chennai, of places around Pondicherry, etc. And then when I finally got a job, I finally had the money, and then I bought a second-hand Bullet, which was a 1996 model. So it's really the old one, which needs a lot of maintenance. Nothing is electronic. It's all mechanical. You have to, like, every week something or the other needs to be done. So that was in 2008.
Okay.
And since then I've been exploring further and further from Pondi. So yeah, I started Tamil Nadu, then I finished seeing everything there is in Tamil Nadu. So then it was Kerala, Karnataka, I did Ladakh. So I joined a company last year. They're based out of Delhi and France. They're called Vintage Rides.
Okay.
So I have been doing tours for them. I'm a sort of tour leader. So, and I take their clientele is mostly French speaking.
Okay.
European French speaking. For example, I did a trip just now in February in Madhya Pradesh. So it's a trip that's called On the Tracks of the Tiger.
Okay.
So we go through about 3 or 4 tiger reserves.
Wow.
One is in Panna, one is in Kanha. Then there is a place called Pench.
Okay.
In between, we stopped also at Khajuraho. So it was about 9 days of traveling. And we took them to different tiger reserves. They finally got to see tigers at the third tiger reserve we stopped at. Like the tiger literally walked past their gypsy.
3 places that you would recommend for, riders, really passionate bike riders to like go to and explore.
So the first place I would recommend is Kerala. You've got beautiful mountains, tea gardens, all kinds of wildlife there. And you as well have the beaches. There are beautiful beaches. And that's where the Western Ghats finish. So sometimes you have places where you have beach and mountains.
Okay. Yeah.
The second one I would say is Rajasthan.
Okay.
It's a different geography altogether. You won't find as much greenery, but then if you plan your itinerary right, you can visit a lot of beautiful forts, palaces, really look at. So the word Rajasthan means the land of the Maharajas, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's because they had so many palaces and forts, and there's a lot of history. So that's there to do in Rajasthan as well. You can actually figure out routes from Pushkar. You can go into the desert if you really want to do some hardcore biking. And the third one I would say is, of course, Ladakh. So as it is, the moment you are in Kashmir, Kashmir is so beautiful. From the moment you enter Srinagar and you start going towards Ladakh. That state is really, it's nothing like any other state I've seen in India. So Kashmir itself, Srinagar onwards, it's really, really beautiful. And then once you start you get into Ladakh and start climbing up towards Leh, it's actually a desert at a very high altitude. So at some points you just keep riding along the mountain, and you come up on a flat plateau that's just desert.
Wow.
And at one point, if you are alone, you can just switch off the engine and you won't hear anything. You're actually like on the roof of the world, kind of.
Quiet.
So you'll just see mountains at the very far, and it's like one road you're on. There's nothing other than that. You're alone with your bike.
Like over the years, has biking contributed to your personal growth?
Oh yeah, I would say in quite a few ways. One of the main things that comes to my mind is in terms of being efficient. So being on a bike really teaches you that you need to plan what you need and carry only what you need. And it actually makes you very systematic.
Yes.
There's a very clear checklist you make, you follow that. The other thing biking teaches you, I think, is it has taught me a lot of patience. Again, I can be a very impatient person. So it teaches you that if you're going for a long distance, you conserve your energy. You don't go flat out in the beginning, don't burn yourself out.
Give me 3 tips about safety and maintenance on the bike.
It's a machine. So any machine needs to run to stay maintained. If you ride it often enough, the bike will be in good condition. The other thing is that once you get to know, you have to get to know your bike, and you have to listen to it. As in, it'll itself tell you when something is wrong. Don't postpone or delay any maintenance that you think needs to be done, because what might cost you 1,000 rupees now, if you delay it, it'll end up costing you 5,000 or 6,000 rupees.
True, yeah.
So that's the second thing. And the third thing is always wear safety gear.
What's your favorite bike? Like your dream bike or your favorite bike?
Well, there are two different things. I think my favorite is, the Royal Enfield. It's been like my first love. So I think it'll always be my favorite. But then my dream bike is, again, I like two different styles of bikes. So, and it's not possible to have both. But the two that I really like, one of them is the Harley Davidson Fatboy. So that's more of a cruiser kind of bike. But the one that I would really like to have, which can actually do intercontinental rides, would be the Triumph Tiger.
Okay.
It's called an adventure bike. You can really load a lot of luggage. It can actually go wherever you take it. It'll go anywhere.
One of the people who I spoke to said that, for many people, bike is an investment. And when you do an investment, you think of, getting some returns on it. What kind of a return do you look at when, you invest yourself?
I just told you I'm a financial consultant, right? So it's difficult to talk about returns in monetary terms with a biker. I mean, depending on what you can afford, you buy a bike that's not going to cost you too much in the long run in terms of maintenance. To sort of put a cliche in returns, it would be more smiles per kilometer or something, how much pleasure you get out of riding it, how much stuff it lets you do. Can you go off-road? Can you race with it if you like racing? That's how I would measure the returns, really.
The sport, cruiser, chopper, off-roader, dirt, which kind do you prefer when it comes to riding?
So me personally, I prefer the adventure bike kind, but I really like sports bikes, cruisers, choppers. Of course, choppers are usually, I think they're custom built. Like you go to a builder and you tell him that I want this kind of a chopper. Cruisers are already, you can find factory assembled cruisers. So I like most of them. Cafe racers, yes. I like all these bikes actually, but personally to ride, I'd prefer an ADV, an adventure tourer. I mean, if someone wants to join me for a ride, you just have to get in touch with me on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and we can just plan a ride to go somewhere together.
Perfect. I will add that. Thank you so
All right.
much. That's all I had. Thank you.